All right, this is lesson 3.3. This is part 2 of the video. In part 2, if you kind of turn the page, you look, oh my goodness, these angles look like a huge mess. It's not a pi thirds or a pi fourths anymore. It's all these weird values. And at first that looks really bad. Then you realize, oh wait, I have to use my calculator to do these problems. And so you can kind of maybe breathe a sigh of relief and realize, oh, these won't be bad at all. So you pull up your calculator, and just a couple things we'll want to verify before we use the calculator. We'll want to make sure your mode is set in radians. How would you know to set it in radians? Because look, for any of these angles, there's no units on these. If there's no units, they meant radians. If they wanted degrees, they should have told you degrees. So they mean radians. So check your calculator mode, especially in physics, because physics use degrees, and make sure you are in radians. So come down here. Had you been in degrees over here, you'd want to switch it and make sure you were in radians. So hit enter here. Make sure you are in radians. You want to be in radian mode on these. And these get straightforward, but at the end you realize, oh, some of these are kind of tricky. Sine of 0.8203. Sine 0.8203. Done. How about the cosine of 5.6429? Not sure why they insist on giving so many decimals. Done. Tangent 3.718. Done. All right, let's hang on to those values. And let's just keep that over here so we've got it. Oops, I hit that tangent button twice. Sorry about that. But you have the sine winner. You can replay it. All right, next, though, they'd like to know the secant. How do you do a secant? Well, secant is reciprocal of cosine, so easiest is to go 1 divided by cosine. And let's put in our value, 2.417. There's another way you can do it also, but I like this way the best. And that will be our secant. And if you're surprised by a negative, don't. You know, in 2 of the 4 quadrants, the trig functions are negative. And 2.4 radians is in the second quadrant. A smart. Sine is positive, cosecant is positive, but the secant and the cosine are negative. And then the cotangent of a negative angle, well, let's go 1 divided by tangent. I've got negative 1.7861. And this will be my cotangent value. Let's see what we get for that. I get a 0.218. Let's save those as well. And let me just make sure this is 100% clear for everybody. What did we just do? Well, the secant was 1 divided by cosine. So that's the one that came out to be negative 1.336. And then the cotangent was 1 divided by tangent, was a 0.219 if we round them. Okay, so very nice and straightforward with a calculator. Okay. A little trickier on some of these when we're going backwards. All right, first thing is you realize we're looking for the angle. We need the angle in here each time. When you're looking for the angle, what do you need? You need your inverse trig function, not to be confused with reciprocals. When we're looking for the angle, we need the inverse trig functions. How would you do this? Well, the tangent of x is 0.765413. What's my angle? I'll take the tangent inverse. So I'll go second tangent, 0.765413. Close the parentheses. It's giving me an angle for an answer. My mode is still in radians, so it'll give me a radian measure. And I get this 0.653. Let's try it for the second one. Cosine, so I'll go second cosine. I get 0.782, oh my goodness, more decimals than you'd ever need. 0.78269876. What angle is this? 0.671. Let's hang on to those guys. We'll record these values so we've got it. So this first one, what does x equal? X is in radians. 0.653. Those are radians. I don't have to label radians. And here, x equals 0.672. Okay, hopefully you're enjoying this. Hopefully you're thinking, wow, this is pretty darn easy. And then we get to these here, the cosecant and the cotangent. We're going to need inverse functions, but we do not have on your calculator a cosecant inverse button. You don't have a cotangent inverse button. And so before we can use those buttons, you might think, well, why don't I just do the sine inverse, or 1 divided by the sine inverse? But put in 1.02 and take the sine inverse, and you'll realize you're getting an error. You can't take the sine inverse of a number bigger than 1. That was on your last test. So these are slightly more complicated in this sense, compared to the page we just did where we just took 1 divided by. So if I would like to find x here, the cosecant of x is 1.1019553. It's going to take two things. I need to do a reciprocal, and I need to do an inverse. Reciprocal because I have the wrong function. Inverse because I'm looking for the inside. And I have to do it in the correct order. Step 1 is I need to take the reciprocal. Step 2 is I need to find the inverse. So step 1 I will take, for number 3 here, I'll take the reciprocal of both sides. The reciprocal of cosecant is sine. The reciprocal of 1.02 is 1 over 1.0219553. Now, how do I find this x? Easy. Take the sine inverse. So I'll pull up my calculator. Let's erase those two. And I'll go sine inverse. And I have to make sure it's of the reciprocal, 1 divided by 1.02. And again, you can try without the reciprocal, but you'll get an error. 19553. And this will give me an angle for an answer. What does it give me? 1.36 radians. The same thing for the next one. I'll take the tangent inverse. And you might think, well, wait, aren't you doing the inverse first? No, you do inside the parentheses first. So 1 divided by, what's the calculator doing? It's doing the reciprocal first. 1 over 0.096. Oops, I got that wrong. So I want the tangent inverse. 1 divided by 0.096, 0.096, and a bunch of other decimals, 7041. And let's see what we get for our answer here. 1.47 radians. So that's a little bit tricky for those problems here. So the steps were take the reciprocal first, take the inverse second. Let's just record our answers here. 1.363 radians and 1.474 radians. And again, if you look at how I punched those in the calculator, you can see we did the reciprocal first, and then the inverse came second, because you work inside the parenthesis, then outside the parenthesis. And very important you do it in that order, otherwise you're getting an error. Tangent inverse, you won't get an error, you'll just get a wrong answer, which is probably even worse, because at least if you get an error, you know you've done something wrong. And guys, that completes our third section. So you've got your unit circle. Hopefully yours was filled out very nicely. And we are done with section 3. We are done with chapter 3.